Hey people, it's ScionVise and welcome back to Breaking the Backlog for April 2021. In this series, I spend a lot of my free time going through games that I've forgotten about or put on the back burner for whatever reason. April was the lightest month yet for beating backlogged games, partially because I've had a lot of other things to focus on, partially because I started way too many games to finish them all, and partially because I couldn't resist and had a few new games to play this month, namely Monster Hunter Rise, new Pokemon Snap, and The Binding of Isaac Repentance. But I did still get a few done, so let's get right into it. The first game I beat in April was Tacoma. This is a game I've had in my library for a few years now, and all I really knew about it was the art in the Epic Store, but it looked interesting, so I decided to give it a shot. This is another first-person narrative adventure style game, much like a few of the other games I've played so far this year. What sets this one apart right away for me is the setting. Tacoma is a sci-fi mystery sort of game. You play as a contractor that was sent to this abandoned space station to find out what happened and why it was abandoned. You get help from the ship's AI, Odin, who allows you to view ship logs and crew data to find out what happened. This data manifests as little vignettes that play out where you see silhouettes of crew members, can hear what they've been talking about, and even see what they're looking at through their Google glasses. At the start I was really excited, especially since I love Return of the Obra Dinn. I thought this was going to be a very similar experience. But I quickly figured out that there was really no mystery for me to solve. Everything got spelled out really bluntly, and the game shows exactly what happens to the crew regardless of what you parse out yourself. That being said, it was fun to try to figure stuff out before the game told me, and there were a few small door combination puzzles, although they were very simple. All in all though, I did have a good time with Tacoma. The story here is good, and I was invested enough to see what happened, but I do wish there was a little more onus on the player to actually seek out the conclusions themselves. The game is well built for it, it just never really took advantage of that design. The second game I beat in April was Gone Home. So, there was one thing I didn't mention about Tacoma: it was developed by the same team that made Gone Home. Funnily enough, I didn't know that when playing it, but once I found out, I remembered that I'd never really given Gone Home a chance either. I've had it for many years, but when it was all the rage, I had kind of been burned out by a lot of the walking simulators at the time, so I just pushed it aside. But since I did like Tacoma, I figured, hey, why not? So, much like that game, Gone Home is a first-person narrative adventure, but unlike Tacoma, this game's setting and narrative are very grounded, very small, and very personal. In this game, you control Katie Greenbrier, a woman returning home from studying abroad, only to find the house completely deserted. From there, it's kind of just up to you to walk around, explore the house, and find out what happened, and why your little sister Samantha is gone. In terms of gameplay, it is basically just that, walking around and listening to monologues given mainly by Samantha, which are triggered by seeing specific rooms or picking up certain objects. The house itself is interesting enough to explore. There are secret passages and hidden compartments all around which you'll need to find in order to fully piece things together. The story is really the only draw here though, so I'm not going to go into detail about it, but it's good. It's told well through not only the narration, but the environmental details too, and I did like a lot of its themes and how they were handled. I think as a game that I played, I enjoyed Tacoma more, but Gone Home definitely has the better written and more emotionally resonant story for those interested in one. Finally for April was Katamari Damasi Reroll. Katamari Damasi is one of those games that, despite in theory being a really niche Japanese game, it found itself being fairly omnipresent in my circles for a very long time. Despite that though, I never got around to finishing it myself, but the Switch port was a really good time for me to dive in, so I grabbed it. Now, this wasn't news to me at all, but everything in Katamari Damacy is incredibly charming. The visual design, the cutscenes, the King of All Cosmos, everything. Especially the music. This soundtrack is fantastic. It's so wacky and weird, but it's composed so well and fits the bonkers nature of this game perfectly. On to the gameplay itself, yeah, if you're seeing the footage here, that's really all you need to know. You get a ball, you roll things up into it, and then you just roll bigger and bigger things until you finish the stage or time runs out. It's really simple, but it's very fun and very addictive. Now, I think the stages where the Katamari starts out very small are less fun than the bigger ones. It feels like it takes a lot longer to make any meaningful progress there, and that snowball effect where you start rolling up huge things is one of my favorite aspects of the game, so those stages aren't quite as fun for me. The controls are weird too, and I never fully figured them out. I don't really understand why they needed to be this way too, requiring both sticks to move. I guess each stick represents one of the prince's arms, but I don't know, it feels needlessly complicated for what it is. Regardless though, I did have a blast playing the game and definitely recommend it to anyone who sees this footage and thinks it could be fun. Now with that out of the way, I do have one retirement this month, City of Brass. I didn't really know what to expect from this game. All I knew before playing it is that it was developed by former BioShock devs, and it was in my Epic Store library for years, and it was Arabian Nights themed, so me, being on a Prince of Persia kick, decided to give it a shot. But man, I was not expecting this. It's a first-person roguelike runner sort of thing. Conceptually, I find it very odd, but more than that, I just don't think it's any fun. Roguelites in general have to do a lot in order to keep me interested, so yeah, this was definitely hitting the chopping block this month. And that was Breaking the Backlog for April 2021. Another really short month. I'm hoping to remedy that a bit in May, but I'm just happy I got anything finished with all the other time sinks I've been dealing with. So here's the rankings for April, and along those, you'll see the complete rankings so far for this year. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all later.